So I'm going to call on 4 of us to ask a question, any question, of Erica. All right? And I'm going to ask Erica to listen to all 4. This is like spinning plates, so good luck. Listen to all 4 questions. They can be any kind of questions. And then I'm going to give, we're all going to give Erica the floor to as our special guest to say whatever she wants to in response to these, I assume, fairly large questions. So it's going to be Max, Sophia, JS, and Kate. You've got the complete license, Max, to ask Erica Baum a question. It could be a big one. Maybe it should be a big one. Max,
I'm going to go for an off-the-wall one, if that's okay. Which is to, gosh, this will just be really off the wall, which is to expound on the dogness of the dog ear as a, I think I was maybe a little bit inspired by seeing Erica Kaufman's dog in the
not to mention Dave's dogs that have been playing on the floor the whole time.
And also Pep as well. Yeah. We have some good dog cameos today in the here in the Zoom. But Erica, yeah, I want to ask you about the animality of the dog ear, if I may. Just and maybe if you have any thoughts on that. Why dog ear? Why not a cat ear? Why not any other animal ear?
All right,
it's a big question, and I warned you it was going to be a.
No, I love that, and I can't wait. Poor Erica's got to listen. Don't answer that yet, Erica. You've got to listen to all 4.
I'm chomping at the bit.
And your response has to be a synthesis or melange of everything that you're thinking about in response. Okay, thanks, Max. That was great. All right, Sophia's next with JS on deck.
Okay, this is a tall task. I'm stuck on something Allie said. She said on the level of like the granular word. So that's making me consider scale. And I'm curious about the relationship to like a granular word as opposed to everything that a photograph can capture. I'm curious about the relationship between like the scale of what a photograph can capture and what a single word can capture, and how you rectify those differences or expand on those differences or use them, and how that influences when you like make a photo poem.
Wonderful. Love that. Okay. So next is JS, followed by Kate.
Yeah, so I also have a question about dog ears. We talked a little bit about how there are so many ways to read these poems, these images. Maybe they can't really be misread. There's just ways to unfold and read them. But I am curious whether in the process of making the dog ears, it is possible to make a mistake, and whether there were discards because they're so cleanly folded, the ways that the lines line up, it's really impressive. As someone who has occasionally folded paper, I know how difficult it is sometimes to get those straight lines. And so I'm wondering if there were discards because the lines weren't right, or whether it was possible to make a mistake while creating the dog ears.
Nice. A real material question. And now we turn to Kate for the 4th one, and then Erica has the floor. Kate?
All right, this is a big, vague, not fully formed poet on poet question, but I'm just curious about your daily movement through the world and the way you apprehend and process language, and whether you're distracted by your encounters of language in the world on a daily basis. Because I, as a poet, am often distracted by my noticing of things in the world and putting it into language. And my experience of the world fluctuates based on kind of the intensity of my attention day to day. But I'm just curious, because you work with material manifestations of language, just what that looks and feels like in your daily life.
Wonderful. All right, Erica, you have the floor. You can respond to all 4. You can respond to one. You can mix them all together. You can forget.
Thank you. Okay, well, I'm going to try to weave them all together and sort of make a narrative that explains my process. And in doing that, I think I can touch on everything everybody asked. So it's starting with the dog and the dog ear. It comes out of this description of saving your place in a book. And it doesn't translate into all different languages. So there are other languages where they say, I think, donkey ear. So it isn't my choosing as a term. It's English language based, but I'm now aware that there are different terms in other languages, and it's meant to recognize a worn out. I guess it's sort of like a dog, maybe as a working dog that's worn out. There's something about it that has to do with using something, and so anyway, there's that kind of process material thing that's the word that describes that choice that I made to make the turn to save my place in a book. And going to the last question, oh no, not the last question, sorry, it doesn't matter what order the questions are in. Going to the decision of that fold, I took the idea, my son was doing origami around the time, he was in middle school, he was doing a lot of origami, so I was thinking about folds. I wanted to make a very uniform fold so that it would be kind of transparent and not interfere too much with the reading of the words. So I wanted you to know it was a fold. I wanted it to be visible, but at the same time have an element of transparency and that continuity between each one. There are many, many failures. I always like to talk about that because I fold all the time. And this ties in actually with the last question. I'm always looking at things. I'm always trying to defamiliarize and familiarize my world as I'm walking, as I'm looking at things, and also as I'm reading. If I'm reading for myself to read the words, if I start thinking there's a potential in there to do something with those words other than just get the content that the writer intended, that defamiliarizes it to the point where sometimes it is disorienting. And so it is a kind of toggling between those different states. And in the process of making those folds and reading them and thinking about which ones might live up to being presented and living in the world, there are many, many failures. So I'll make a fold, I'll reread it later, and the percentage of failure is very high. So I think I'm answering all those things.
You did. You're amazing. Snaps for Erica Baum, not just for that wonderful response, but also just for being such a friend.